with 132 million active buyers globally and 190 countries that we cover, I think there's enough for every single seller in India to kind of come on board and find a buyer globally.
This is episode number 32 of MSME Talk on Let's Export, Let's eBay with Pavan Ponnappa. Welcome back to MSME Talk Podcast. MSME Talk Podcast is for micro, small, medium enterprises, startups, and entrepreneurs, in which we discuss with industry experts and experienced entrepreneurs on specific value addition guidance and solve queries to help build long-lasting businesses. eBay is one of the world's largest online marketplaces to buy and sell products with presence in more than 190 countries. Yes, 190 countries. For FY22, eBay clocked gross merchandise value, which we usually called as GMV, for almost $74 billion, which is almost 6 lakh crores in Indian rupee. eBay is a listed entity on Nasdaq. eBay has significant contribution for the growth of small businesses in various countries globally. eBay Sellers in India is part of eBay Global, and it supports sellers from India to sell products globally through eBay Marketplace platform. Hi, I'm your host Tripti, and today we have with us Pavan Ponnappa, who heads eBay India cross-border. Pavan holds 20 plus years of experience in global e-commerce and cross-border business expansion. We usually get a lot of requests from community and audience to bring certain topics and content on it. So here we are presenting you very informational episode to inch up your journey of exports through our episode Let's Export, Let's eBay. In today's episode, we are going to understand how eBay for sellers can be a catalyst to increase your sales turnover by accessing the global market. So whether you have still not started your exporting or already doing export but not using eBay, this episode is definitely for you. We will understand what eBay for export, how does eBay for sellers is supporting small businesses in India to export products out of India, about platforms and processes, how easy or complicated it is, for which all sector it is absolutely relevant to be there on eBay, some success stories, and how MSMEs can get maximum out of eBay for their growth. Behind the picture moment, understanding how eBay is engaging with government and other collaboration to support MSMEs in India to get higher share in global landscape. So let me welcome Pavan on MSME Talk episode Let's Export, Let's eBay to share with our listeners about exporting through eBay platform.
Thank you very much. I think looking forward to this conversation. I think it's been an exciting journey for eBay, and we look to continue working closely with our MSMEs in India, which form the core of what we do on our platform. So looking forward to the conversation.
So Pavan, we would like to, to begin our today's conversation with your brief about eBay for sellers. I was little, got informative when I came to know eBay for sellers is a very specific separate set of functioning which is there. And since how long eBay is into business of cross-border export platform, a bit of history, some facts, and maybe some presence.
So I think, eBay as a brand has been in India for a very long time. It was initially in the domestic e-commerce space, and then it also started the cross-border trade. So cross-border trade forms an integral part of our business globally. And even in India, it's also been something that sellers who sell on eBay have been doing for well over a decade. And a lot of the sellers who do cross-border trade on our platform have managed to build their business pretty much from scratch to where they are today, right? And that is a great testament to how eBay has kind of provided an opportunity for all Indian entrepreneurs, businesses, to kind of really grow and expand. At this stage in eBay's journey, we are really looking to take a larger number of exporters, manufacturers, sellers, traders onto the platform, get them exposure to global markets, and also help them build another channel of their business, which I think will really help them scale their business across borders. So from that point of view, we're a pure play marketplace, and that enables every entity, every business in India to possibly come onto the platform and start selling. And we'll get into more details as we go along.
Thank you so much. So, Pavan, let's go ahead to the next understanding. So, where we would like to understand from you the current offering of eBay and the initiatives which eBay has tailored specifically for Indian exporters.
Yeah, I think while, like I said, eBay has been around for long, and we have been working with the ecosystem to try and understand what do they really need, what will allow them to scale easily across the markets, right? And in order to do so, we realize that there are a few key elements, key things that they need to take care of or be supported in that journey, right? One of the key elements, because we're talking about export, which is cross-border, is how do I ship my product, right? And in order to kind of really solve for that problem, we have created what is called eBay Global Shipping. It's an aggregation program which allows us to offer a bouquet of shipping solutions to our MSME or any other seller who's on the platform. What do I mean when I say an aggregation, right? It's an aggregation of providers across the logistics landscape. Global players, domestic players who have started expanding to partner with global players to ship product, which enables Indian sellers to ship their products to almost every country in the world efficiently, both from a cost perspective as well as speed, right? It's a very competitive landscape globally when you start talking about cross-border e-commerce. So sellers need to have a partner that is reliable and allows them to deliver, if they want to deliver a product in 5 days at a price that is competitive, or wants to deliver the product in 15 days but at extremely low price, being able to offer that entire range of services. So that is one big area where we put in a lot of effort. We have built a platform that allows us to aggregate these services and offer it to our sellers. That is definitely one significant area. Keeping in a similar, let's say, thread, we also need to find ways to give them tools that allow them to have their products visible across different countries. Some of them may be listings that are in non-native languages. And I say non-native, I would say non-English languages, but in the native language, right? So for example, if a seller needs to list a product that he is currently selling in the US, also be listed, say, in German on the Germany side, we need to have tools that allow sellers to do that easily and manage that efficiently. So there are partners with whom we offer these services to our sellers so that they can actually list a product on ebay.com and have it replicated across all the various eBay sites which are language specific in different markets, be it Germany, Italy, France, or any other market that might be there, right? So that really allows them, or really enables what we look at from a global reach perspective, right? These are two simple, or I would say key building blocks that I would say that we enable. Apart from this, there are specialized programs which are very category specific, where we are, one of them being jewelry, which is a big category for us, and we're looking at how do we expand the scope of what eBay calls authenticity guarantee for high ASP jewelry, which means every product that is sold through the authenticity guarantee program gets authenticated and validated by eBay's partners, in this case being GIA, and then shipped to the end buyer. This ensures trust on both sides. So trust on a cross-border platform is a very, very important piece, right? And being able to ensure that both buyers and sellers are able to deliver a trusted experience to each other. This is one key element to ensure that the product is backed by eBay, so buyers are safe, and buyers, once they receive the product, there is no kind of fraudulent activity which protects the seller as well. So both sides of the transaction are protected, and that ensures that transactions can happen in a very safe and a controlled manner, especially when it comes to very high value of products.
So what I understand in the simple, few lines, that eBay for Indian exporters is about shipping across border the products of theirs, communication, because they're taking care of the communication gap which they might face with the global communities or the other countries.
Yes.
And the trust factor.
Yes.
You are taking care of that, how you can increase the more trust when you're dealing between different countries and the sellers and buyers, and obviously in the process how you're taking care of fraudulent part if anything occurs. Wonderful. So if we go to little more understanding further, currently eBay for sellers in India is only for export, and it's not anyway related to the sellers doing domestic sale. Could you just give some clarification?
Yes. So for India, the main focus of our business is enabling Indian sellers to export globally, right? We do not operate in the domestic marketplace. It's a business that we do no longer operate. it's purely export only, which means a seller who registers on eBay from India can ship their product from India internationally to any market, any buyer globally.
Very nice. And just for the clarification of our audience, please understand, if you want to buy anything from eBay, that is something different, because our platform is for MSMEs and startup owners and entrepreneurs. So we are talking in terms of businesses. So we are purely talking in terms where how exporters can export their product using eBay. So kindly don't get confused with your individual buying journey from eBay. So eBay for sellers, should I understand it is like an Amazon version of export out of India?
Let's take a quick break.
MSMEs and startups are looking for various kinds of support and upgrade. Are you a product service provider, expert, advisor, consultant, mentor for MSMEs and startups? Do reach out to MSME Talk to list your business. Check the link in the description.
Every marketplace might offer, or a platform might offer, its own solution to sell on the platform, both domestic and international. Right, eBay has been around for more than 25 years and is the first kind of e-commerce marketplace. Right, so as such, we kind of set the base for what everybody else does in terms of e-commerce at the very beginning. Every model has evolved in its own way. So there's a significant difference between each model, each platform. Right, eBay's is relatively straightforward and simple and has been the same for the last 25 years. We as a platform only enable transactions and enable sellers to come onto the platform. We do not compete, or eBay does not compete on its own, or does not have its own products that they sell on the platform, right? So it's a pure open marketplace in that sense. There are only basic requirements for individuals or businesses to come and register and start selling on the platform. But it's a purely a seller's marketplace, sellers and buyers.
It's a very important point you have mentioned while explaining entire thing, that eBay don't compete with its own sellers by providing their own product or in-house brand. It's a pure marketplace. Wonderful. So what are the product categories, Pavan, which can be listed on eBay for sellers by the exporters from India?
Like I said, open marketplace also means a large number of categories, but I'll try and kind of focus on a few that are obviously very relevant for Indian sellers, right? But please do not take it as a complete list. This is only representative. And there are a lot of products that you will find on eBay that you cannot find anywhere else on any other marketplace. But I'll give you a few. Like I mentioned earlier, jewelry is a big focus for us, right? Jewelry from India. We are known for our jewelry. We export the largest probably quantum of finished jewelry from the country, even in B2B markets. So globally, we are well known for it. We have the supply, and that is definitely one big area sellers do focus on. We, as a business and as eBay in India as well as eBay globally, also recognizes this as a focus business vertical. So when I say jewelry is a very widespread, right? There is fine jewelry, which is typically precious metal jewelry with diamonds and precious stones, which is one part of the segment. Then there is a lot of fashion jewelry, which typically is in the mid to low price ranges, not necessarily precious metal, simple gemstones, or even plain metal jewelry, more contemporary jewelry, and so on. So there is the entire spectrum. And India, interestingly, has presence across this, including people who buy gemstones, right, for various purposes, for jewelry of their own, for other reasons that they might be buying their own gemstones. So gemstones is also something that trades on eBay. So jewelry as a spectrum across the entire price range is something that is extremely relevant for Indian sellers to look at or consider, right? Apart from jewelry, there is some significantly different categories that you probably don't traditionally associate with e-commerce, which I will bring up, which are like automotive parts and accessories, right? eBay is globally one of the largest marketplaces for parts and accessories in automobile. What does that mean? It means we're talking about individuals who want to buy parts specifically that fit their vehicle, right? And some of them are not necessarily people who only repair vehicles, but also individuals who want to do it themselves in terms of changing either an accessory or part in their vehicle. It could be 4-wheelers, 2-wheelers, everything. Now, that is something that we are seeing a lot of growth coming in from India because of the fact that there are a lot of brands and their aftermarket parts which are available in India today. And those parts have significant demand in global markets. So there is that part which is all automotive parts and accessories where there is a lot of growth that we are seeing. There's business and industrial, a very, very vast category. It includes products which typically are for business purposes. When I say business or industrial purposes, these are heavy electronic, heavy machinery parts for those, the entire finished product, pre-owned in some cases, or salvaged parts in some cases. So those are, something that you don't traditionally consider when you look at, e-commerce, especially when you talk about cross-border e-commerce or B2C. So those are some of the segments. And a couple of other interesting ones that I'll talk about where India has a lot of supply and is relevant globally is, the entire rugs and carpet space. We manufacture, we produce handcrafted, rugs and carpets across multiple states and cities in India. And that supply and those kind of products are extremely relevant globally. So that's one category. There is the whole natural remedies product category, which is Ayurveda and its related products, right? So there's a very vast spectrum that I spoke about. That's just to give a lay of the land in terms of what categories could be of interest for Indian sellers. Having said that, there's home linen, kitchen linen, kitchenware, toys. So there's many other categories, but I won't finish if I keep describing all the categories. But this is broadly what I would.
Thank you so much. That's so we were looking forward to get some idea of what all Indian exporters are exporting today from eBay, and if some of our listeners who are still not there on eBay and are into at least some categories, can go and explore them. So Pavan, you have mentioned so many different categories from jewelry to automobile, which is really surprising for me. Platform which is using various MSMEs or sellers, using eBay for automobile part. One thing I would like to understand, which are these geographical area from which these auto part sellers are coming in?
So we do see a lot of concentration in the northern part of India, where a lot of sellers from the Delhi NCR region, Punjab, etc., have a lot of supply. Having said that, this is not the only region where supply is available. We are also looking at the west parts of the western region, where there are sellers today. But if you ask me for concentration, I would say today it's very high. From the north, they have been on the platform, they understand, and they've been extremely, I would say, positive in terms of scaling their business on the platform.
Okay, got it. So, Pavan, what are the qualifying criterias, or we can say a bare minimum? Is there some conditions for sellers when they register on eBay for export?
Yeah, very simple. Actually, honestly, not too much of complication in terms of the criteria. I think you need to have a GSTN,
Okay.
right? And therefore, that enables you to sell. And from a regulation standpoint, whatever necessary compliances are required can be adhered to. Apart from that, because we're talking about a cross-border trade business, these sellers also need to have an import-export code, which is called IEC, right? These are the two main, I would say, base qualifying criteria, right?
Okay.
And apart from that, as long as they have the products to list, and they can come onto the platform, register their selves with these details, there is obviously KYC and other steps that will take place specifically from a payments provider standpoint, where we have Payoneer, who is a partner for us for remittances of foreign exchange into the country, right?
Okay.
And those compliances are KYC compliances. And with that, they will be able to kind of set up their business and start selling.
Clearly, you have mentioned, first of all, if you don't have and you want to get into the exporting, GST, export registration, two things, go ahead, come to it. We'll move to the understanding on the little benefits part from the eBay person. As you have already mentioned about the other e-commerce platforms and you gave, is there anything else which you would like to highlight, which says that, or you would like to summarize, say, why eBay is different from other e-commerce platforms? Or I mean to say here, Pavan, other e-commerce platform who are providing exports.
Yeah, I think that's a good point that you made. I'm going to talk more specifically when we talk about from an export platform point of view, right? The second you say export platform, the platform needs to be capable of giving you global reach, right? I think that's the base fundamental requirement. And that's something which we are very successful at doing. We have a presence like you said, in 190 plus markets, and that makes a big difference, right? My product is visible in so many different markets. There is always a buyer somewhere in the world who's looking to buy your product, right? So that opens you up technically to being able to sell anywhere in the world, right? As long as you have the shipping, again, which is something that we will support you with. As long as you want to sell and use our aggregation platform, you always have the ability to ship our product. So with reach and shipping, we take care of the base requirement for you to be able to have a buyer and fulfill that order. When it comes to actually being able to scale your business, right, there are a few things that are important. Like I said, we have a very vast product category, available on the platform. So it's very important for sellers to understand what products they are selling, where do they have the competitive advantage. Working with our teams who will help you in onboarding and getting you up and running on your business, as well as our teams that support sellers on account management, we are able to kind of give you the necessary guidance in terms of how you should set up your business on the platform. What are the opportunities to scale? What are the nuances of those categories that we are dealing in, right? And that helps you to start building and scaling your business. Underlying all of this is people want to look at their business and they want to be, efficient with their business, which is how quickly do I get paid for what I sell, right? And that's where payments come in. And when we talk about payments, eBay is one of those platforms which is extremely efficient for sellers when it comes to their working capital requirement. Why do I say that? I say that because when buyers buy their product, right, they can get their money pretty quickly. And that's important. Yeah.
So this question which we were trying to understand is only from the perspective of e-commerce platforms which are available as a choice for the exporters. So what sets eBay apart from other e-commerce platforms?
Yeah. So again, I think just to be clear, like when we say, eBay setting itself apart from other platforms, one of the big elements is we can actually, support you in all your requirements, all the way from deciding what to sell to being able to enable your shipping, right? I think that's extremely important.
Okay.
We don't leave it for you to figure that out or you to manage that. We give you the options. And third is extremely efficient in terms of your capital flow, right? You
Okay.
get your payments much faster. You don't have to wait for your product to get delivered and then wait for 15 days before you get your money, which puts a lot of strain on working capital for businesses. So we're able to do that very efficiently for sellers, and that's also based on how our platform is set up.
Let's take a quick break.
Hey, MSME Talk listeners, hope you have not missed subscribing to our newsletter for the latest news, blogs, podcast updates. Check the link in the description. We don't spam your inbox, and hence we do have one of the highest rate of newsletter opening in the industry. Okay, got it. Now, if we move towards, say, when your exporter has onboarded and all, okay, could you just briefly tell us what are different kind of supports and resources eBay provides to these exporters to optimize their product listings for international market? Because some of the new guys would be okay to deal with domestic market, but what support you are going in hand holding to address it, to showcase it to international market?
Okay, so two parts. One is I'll say what is there in the self-serve base and what is there where we can also additionally handhold you, right? From a self-serve point of view, what sellers can see for their product line and their product categories is a detailed view of what is the pricing that exists on the marketplace, right? What is the kind of pricing at which different sellers, or I would say top selling products, are selling at. That helps them analyze better what should they look at when they want to set pricing. So all of this can be done by them on a self-serve basis. Now, apart from that, we have our own teams that are working on the ground, working with sellers. Obviously, these teams have access to a lot of analytics information and data and can also kind of give those inputs for your specific categories, looking at how should you plan not just for the current month or the current quarter, but for the rest of the year in terms of what products, what pricing, where should you be in terms of inventory levels that you should maintain, forecasting and planning for that, right? So that's the support that comes in from our teams. But in addition to that, like I said, there's always a self-serve way for sellers to see a lot of information, not just on pricing, promotions, what can be their bid rates at which they should promote, allows them to kind of really decide how much money they want to spend, what will that money translate to in terms of sales and so on. So there's a lot of self-serve tools, and wherever required, the teams can come in and give them more detailed inputs to help them plan their business longer term.
Okay, so basically, there are two choices: do it yourself or take the support of the team. But in both the cases, you have a lot of data and analytical tools available with your platform, which are available to make the
Yes.
journey better and optimize the journey of exporting and to get higher output of each penny.
Yes.
In the process, when the newbies who are entering the eBay platform as exporters, there's always, some bit of fear of disputes or any protection related, requirement. So how does eBay is supporting in seller protection and dispute resolution for Indian exporters?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, all platforms bring with its own, set of challenges that sellers will have to work through. Given that it's a online transaction, it's extremely important for us as a platform to provide a secure environment for both sellers and buyers to operate. Now, one of the big elements that eBay uses a lot of information about buyers and their behavior, as well as sellers and their behavior on the platform, right? So whenever sellers sell a product, if there is a dispute that is raised, there's a lot of information that is available to the customer support teams to effectively handle that dispute in case the buyer and seller are not able to resolve it, right? So we let the buyer and seller engage to resolve the problem. If they are unable to do so, that's when the customer support team steps in, looks at what actions the sellers have taken, what actions the buyers have taken, right? And then resolves the dispute, right? Now, it's extremely important on a platform like eBay to provide a way for sellers and buyers to communicate and resolve issues. Most issues on the platform are actually resolved by the buyer and the seller themselves communicating and agreeing on a solution. Many a case it could be that they will give you partial refund, should be fine with you, keep the product, don't return it, we'll ship you another product. So there's various conversations that happen on the platform. So that is how we allow the mechanism to function. Whenever the teams need to step in, which is the customer support team step in, they will step in and protect wherever the protection is required. It could be the seller, it could be the buyer.
Okay.
Sellers also have the ability to raise abusive buyer dispute and so on. So there is various mechanisms, but in summary, this is well managed and covered.
Yeah. Okay. If I ask you in one line, in the reach, I'm sure there would be a line by the eBay. And if we define eBay's strength, what is eBay's reach in terms of international customers, countries, target, product line, transaction value, volume? So, if in one line we want to summarize it, would you like to say something?
And I would say that with 132 million active buyers globally and 190 countries that we cover, I think there's enough for every single seller in India to kind of come on board and find a buyer globally, right? So from our point of view, our job is to enable the opportunity for all, and that's what we would look to do.
Wonderful. Huge numbers. There's an opportunity for all exporters from India. So let's go back to eBay sellers platform now. And so there's something called eBay seller guide. So first of all, what is this first step to start with? What it is all about? Is there something I read about there's something eBay seller guide for Indian exporters. What all is there in this and what all it covers?
Okay. Yeah, I think we have just launched, if you want to call it the first version of the eBay seller guide.
Okay.
The entire intent of the eBay seller guide is to give somebody who is looking to come onto the platform, or like you said, has just come onto the platform, an understanding of the various elements of the platform, a little bit more of a depth in terms of what are the categories and what do they really sell on those categories, right? And enable them to get their journey going as effectively as possible, right? So it's a consolidation of a lot of this information at one place, and by doing so we hope that sellers don't need to go to different places and different sites or different locations to try and understand eBay better, right? Because it is a very vast platform, and we try to concise all of that into a seller guide. It's an effort to kind of make it like a one single quick read on understanding eBay, the platform, and the category.
Okay, after going through the eBay seller guide initially, would it be a document where the sellers can go back again to check certain information, cross-checking while they are already active?
Yes, it would, but I would say that as sellers start, if you say start operating on the platform and start kind of working on the platform, there is a lot of additional information that is also available on their own seller panels, as well as various boards, including, there are discussion boards which are seller community and so on.
Okay.
Whereas there is a lot of information that will also be shared. So it is one source, but there are multiple other sources depending on how much depth there is. Also, if you go to sellglobal.ebay.in, which is our destination for all sellers, right, in India, sellers can find a lot of video content, tutorials on very, very specific aspects, starting with how should you list your product, how do you promote your product, how do you ship your product, which gives you a step-by-step view. So that is more kind of depth in terms of what you.
So for whatever the specific problem, you already have
Absolutely.
a lot of content available which they can go and read. But when someone is onboarding on the platform, is it again both the way option, that do it yourself or take support team? Could you just give clarity on that?
So yes, you are right to an extent that you can go register on your own on the platform, provide the necessary details, mandatory information, move forward, register yourself and start selling. Also, there is a lot of assisted onboarding. In many cases, we do focus on certain categories and work with certain interested businesses to come onto the platform, where we work closely with them in helping them onboard. So yes, both of these happen, but yes.
Okay. If I ask about when they are micro entrepreneurs who are onboarding, is there some way, you're helping them to make their product listing attractive and effective?
Yeah. So I think when it comes to attractive, it's about how do they describe their product, how do they create their catalog. Today, we even have very simple mobile listing. So you can actually list your product straight away from your mobile by clicking a photo of the product and completing the basic information and description, which very quickly gets you going, right? But if you look at the e-commerce platform, the more you improve your quality of listing and detailing, the greater is the chance of converting and getting a sale. Apart from just the listing and cataloging, the other element that's extremely important is how do you market your product, right? And how do you promote your product? Now, for that, there are various options of promoted listings, which are based on click, based on acquisition, very, very simple tools that are there for allowing you to really effectively market your product.
So when sellers are listing on your platform, there's so many sellers out there. So how they can ensure higher visibility or some kind of ranking above? Is there some they have to pay any extra fees or charges for any advertisement or ranking higher? Could you just give some understanding?
First and number one thing is make sure that your listing is in the right and relevant category, so that the search picks up your product based on the relevance, right? So it's important from a relevance standpoint that your product is listed in the right category, has the right information filled in, so search can actually identify your product when somebody is looking for something that's related to your product. That's number one, right? But apart from that, there are going to be multiple sellers on a competitive platform like eBay who are selling the same or similar product. If you really want to compete, you need to be able to also consider how do you want to ensure you promote your product. Again, there's promotion manager, which is a simple platform on the eBay panel for each seller who can decide. They can decide based on what product they're selling, what keywords they want to bid on, what kind of bid rates they want to put, and promote the product, which gives them an initial bump. When the search happens, certain products will get a little higher visibility. So that's one way to do it. There is also other things that help in terms of how do you do discounting on your platform. How do you use your eBay store? You can create your own store, which gives greater visibility to a much wider range. So people click on your product, they go to your store, see your other product, and possibly buy something else even. So there is various such tools. It's almost like a shopping destination or a mall. You can promote your products in different ways, in different manner.
If we shift the discussion again back to the micro entrepreneurs, because medium and small entrepreneurs definitely have more resources to get into the journey which is more smoother. But if you talk on micro entrepreneurs, the initial work is a lot about getting a good images and pictures and descriptions and couple of those. And these are very individualistic, things which defines them. Is there some way where eBay is helping them?
Yeah, so we do have partners who can help them with cataloging requirements and supporting on those. But again, at the end of it, like I said, a lot of it depends on the seller in terms of being able to, the intent and the interest in terms of building and defining their product in greater detail. At the end of it, as an entrepreneur, it is your business. we can support you, but you know best. Like we say most times, like we may be the expert for export, but you are the expert of your product. So you really need to know your product well, define it well, know what standout features for your product, and be able to highlight that. So as long as you can do that effectively, the tools and solutions available are pretty well defined and can easily be accessed on our platform.
And their collaborators, you said their support partners are available.
Yes.
So if they don't have anyone accessible to them, they can take the resources from eBay platform and get it.
They will have some list of partners that you can access, and also work with our teams if they need to.
Okay, got it. Is there something you guys would be getting the feedback and reviews from the customers? What is that your clients and customers are highlighting repetitively more what they like about eBay sellers platform?
Okay, that's a good question. I think it depends on the different sellers, but I'll give you a few that kind of really stand out, right? One, of course, is the efficiency on the platform for how the working capital requirements are, right? So that makes a big difference to sellers because they get their money very quickly. They're able to get more products, continuously improve their efficiency on the platform, bring more products, scale more and more. Right, so that's one definite big advantage. The second advantage that a lot of the sellers see is the ability to have a variety of options when it comes to shipping. Because when it comes to cross-border trade, that's one of the most complicated elements, ensuring efficient shipping, right? So I'd say these two are ones that definitely stand out and make a big difference to sellers.
Okay, got it. So next, moving to shipping part, which you have highlighted. Shipping is a very important part which you guys are providing to the exporter. So how does this shipping solutions is working?
Okay, so like I said, we are not a logistics company, right? But given that we know that this is an important part of this entire journey for a seller, what we have done is our teams have worked extensively with all the large providers in the country who operate shipping solutions globally. And we've brought them onto the platform, brought their services, worked with them to ensure that these services are offered at a very efficient, effective price for the sellers, which would be very difficult for them to get if they had to go directly and work with these providers. Also, we ensure that these logistics providers offer a very high degree of quality of service when it comes to ensuring products are delivered on time, issues are resolved on time, necessary disputes are resolved, and so on and so forth. So that ensures like a relatively, in one sense, a one-stop solution for all their shipping needs. And that is very, very hard for any individual seller to create and develop on their own.
Okay. And that also at preferred costing and pricing.
Yeah, absolutely. So we offer very, very competitive prices to our sellers. Some of them, and you have to also understand that there are sellers who are shipping 10-gram products to sellers who are shipping 500 to 1,000 kg products.
Okay.
Irrespective of what the size, shape of your product, we offer very competitive pricing, and that allows you to kind of really make your business more profitable.
Very, very critical part of the business when you're into physical product. Is there any kind of software tool also being used by eBay related to the shipping and documentation?
Yeah, so like I said, the EGS platform is a one-stop solution. It's a single window. You can access EGS as a seller. It allows you to upload all your shipping related documents and provides you the shipping bills. Everything is there on the platform, fully integrated. So yeah, it is if you want to call it a one-stop platform for everything.
During the conversation, you mentioned working capital as one of the advantage for the exporters who are using eBay. Could you tell us how this payment process is working?
Okay, so as far as payments is concerned, eBay, while we intermediate payments globally, when it comes to cross-border remittances, we have a partner, Payoneer, who is a remittance partner in India. So all payments that happen for a seller are made through Payoneer. And Payoneer is again a global firm, has operations across the world, and is a specialist in this. So we have got them to do the remittance in India.
Okay, so like seller's product is bought by the international buyers. So how much time does it take for the remittances and you were mentioning about the working capital benefit. So how does time it takes?
Yeah, typically the way it works is as you improve your trust level on the platform, you'll start getting your payments, pretty much immediately, right? As soon as the buyer buys a product, your money comes in, and RBI very strict regulations on how money that is remitted into India through the remittance partner gets credited to your bank account. So typically in any given scenario within 24 to 48 hours, you start seeing the money coming in. But it's very important to ensure that as a seller, you are maintaining your quality standards in terms of shipping your product on time, your performance is on track. There are no disputes that are opened against your account, so that there is no restriction or limitation placed by any player in the ecosystem, so that your flow of capital and cash is clear.
Basically, keep your credit rating high on the platform in a certain way.
It's in one way to say that is, that's a similar analogy, but you got to make sure that you're shipping your products on time and there are no disputes being opened by buyers, and you should see money coming in pretty much immediately within 24 to 48 hours.
Got it. So if we move to the next part, is costing and fees which is charged by eBay seller platform. Could you just give some idea of what different type of costing or charges you're taking?
Okay, so almost all our charges are transaction related, in the sense whenever you come do a transaction, you will have to pay a certain fee for eBay facilitating that transaction. So that's one fee that is paid by a seller to eBay when they're operating on the platform. Apart from that, you have various, let's say, features and capabilities that the platform has. When you say, if you want to create your own eBay store, different stores, there are different levels and types of stores which allow you to either access more number of listings, more features, and there is a fee for each of those services. So you pay for those store and store related services. There is a listing fee which you pay for the listings that you make on the platform. Now, apart from this, obviously there are other costs which are not something that you pay to eBay. But if you're using a shipping solution or a shipping provider, then there is a cost attached with logistics. The country that you're shipping into would have customs duties. So you would have duties that you will have to pay for the product, depending on the value, depending on the rules and regulations in that country. Also, there is insurance. A lot of sellers might be taking insurance if they're selling very high value products. Insurance against that. So there are some of those costs, but from an eBay perspective, I would say simplistically, there's a final value.
Mm-hmm.
There are store fees, there are promotion related fees, which depend on, it's optional, it's not mandatory. Those are optional.
Okay, so there's listing, there's transaction related and the store related fees.
Yes.
And the rest of the fees which goes through eBay platform, but they are for other requirements to facilitate the. Okay, since you are heading the function here in India, would you like to give some hacks to our listeners, sellers, to use eBay platform more effectively, or some secrets?
Yeah, I think hacks does sound like a bit of a short-term view, but nonetheless, I think it's very, very, very important for you to get going very quickly when you get onto any platform, right? So that you see success and therefore you believe that you can further continue to scale. Very, very important is to make sure that your listings that you put onto any platform that is a digital platform, optimize your listings, keep it simple, good imagery. Basics of hygiene are extremely important, right? Mm-hmm. But apart from that, I think as soon as you get onto the platform, it's important that you analyze the trends on the platform, right? Okay. Very, very important to look at what is selling, what's in trend, and therefore allow yourself to price those products which are relevant in the current scenario more effectively. So that gets you more visibility and gets you immediate traction on the platform. Once you do that, there are obviously various other additional tools that you'll start using to further scale.
So basically also spend some time on the data and analytics. So the data and analytics will help you to move the journey faster and better. Okay. Is there any way that these sellers can target some niche markets in the cross borders in outside countries?
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, obviously there are various categories, right, on the platform. But if you look at it, eBay has always been a platform where there are a lot of buyers who do make a lot of involved purchases, collectors, people who buy products which are rare to find, right? So anything that you feel are one-off pieces, collector's items, those are products that always have a lot of traction on the platform. And also the willingness to pay is high. So there are definitely some of those niche categories. Interestingly, from India, you find sellers who sell a lot of metal armors and things like that, which are not something which you traditionally associate. But yes, there are a lot of niche products, art-related products.
Okay, a lot of these sellers, when they are in their journey and they don't have a lot of tools and places, systems, inventory becomes a little bit an issue. So managing an inventory or fulfillment efficiently, is there some guidance or best practices your team tells them or guides them?
No, I think it's very important to try and see as much automation that you can bring in, right? I know that probably for a small entrepreneur, automation may be a challenge, but trust me, there are a lot of simple, not so expensive solutions available to manage your inventory across all these kind of platforms, which are e-commerce platforms, right? I think one is definitely automation. The second is ensure that you have a way to effectively analyze and use the data for some degree of planning and forecasting, right? These are, I would say, two very, very important practices that sellers selling on eBay should follow: inventory planning and managing that inventory. The third most important piece is do understand that the ability to fulfill as per your promise, right, to your buyer is very, very critical to maintain your performance on the platform. So I would say if you can do these three things effectively, you will be very effective in managing your inventory and order fulfillment. So shipping, tracking orders, and having a very, very efficient automated system that allows you to do this is critical.
Pavan, would you like to share any one or two case studies, successful case study, which on the platform? There's so many. I'm sure there are many, but if you would like to pick up any.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have the pleasure of meeting, a lot of our sellers, and every single story stands out for their uniqueness in which those businesses have scaled. I'll just give maybe one or two examples because there are many, many examples,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So we have one of our sellers who's not been on our platform for very long, though he's been in the business for a very long time, right? He's has a publishing house over multiple generations that he has his own printing press and prints books. Now, when you say he prints books, it seems like a very regular business, but very uniquely, his business is focused on custom-made books. So when you say you want a book to be printed, and you can also decide what kind of bind and bound cover you require, and all of that, the kind of paper you want to use. And with the help of all the capabilities he has, he's actually able to create very custom made books just for you. And that's a very, I would say, very interesting way to look at books rather than buying a book off the shelf. So, and he's been able to successfully scale his business on the platform, and he's seeing a lot of traction because a lot of buyers don't just want to go and buy this particular book, which could be a classic, but don't want to buy it off the shelf, but want a custom, book for themselves, which could be a different colored paper with a different colored bind and so on. So that's like very unique product, right? Then you have sellers like I mentioned, automotives, right? Automotive parts, very standard products that are not customized, but very standard products, which he's able to have very good coverage in terms of his inventory. He's been able to ensure that he's very, very focused on a particular brand of vehicles, and he has the entire range of products available for that brand. So if a buyer comes onto the platform and searches for a product from that brand, he will pretty much have it, right? And that makes it very, very powerful as an offering, because after a few times the buyers come back and they start buying repeatedly from him because they know he always has products in that kind of brand of products that he's dealing in. So I would say the sellers have built very, very interesting businesses. On traditionally may not seem scalable, but on eBay as a platform, given the number of buyers and spread of countries, they always have a very large base to cater to.
We understand eBay Seller India does lot of development program, support program for MSMEs and sellers. So could you just share a bit about what are these development programs and are these programs paid or complimentary, and some information?
So yeah, it depends on the kind of programs. Like for example, we do have programs right now where we are enabling fine jewelry businesses in India, and we work very closely with GJPC, which is the nodal body for export of gems and jewelry in the country, and we kind of work with them to really promote e-commerce to fine jewelry manufacturers. Now, a lot of these businesses understand the product very, very well. They do export also, but they are not on e-commerce. Now, this opportunity is what we are trying to open up for them. We're trying to bring forward the program and put forth all that is required to ensure that these businesses are successful on e-commerce, right? So we have an authentication guarantee program, like I said, which is there globally for eBay. And we kind of now have launched it for jewelry, which is one such program. But this program is obviously something which we work very, very specifically with on a specific category, which is jewelry. But apart from that, we do have programs where we are looking to work with certain agencies within the government and so on to look at certain categories. For example, we are trying to sign MOUs with with DGFT and so on to kind of promote products from specific districts and so on. Those are more widespread. Those are a combination of building awareness, providing enablement support, and getting those small medium enterprises onto the platform and start their journey on e-commerce. And gradually these become significantly large enough for them to create their own stores, build their own product lines and so on. So there are various such programs. Global Expansion Program is one more such program where we are working with larger aggregators and manufacturers who can aggregate supply from various regions, bring them onto the platform, and provide a lot of detailed insight for helping them scale.
And these programs are online and offline, both type of program you launch?
Yeah, I mean, some of these are where we, probably are doing a lot of communication digitally, but also on the ground, we work very closely with, like I said, these industry bodies or government agencies to reach these specific sellers on the ground. Yes.
So, Pavan, since we are dealing in the age of data, technology, online, safeguarding of the data and the privacy is everywhere we are seeing it. So, how does eBay safeguard the data and privacy of these micro sellers and their customers? And to the extent, what about the payment securities or any fraud? Happen?
So eBay as a company, both internally in terms of our processes as well as with our partners and sellers, have very, very strong process guidelines and compliance requirements in place. So we do look at making sure that sellers are safe and that can find this as a reliable platform to trade on. We have our own teams which deal with what is called trust and safety and ensure that seller transactions and their actions on the platform are protected. They are not subjected to any kind of abuse or fraud. Apart from that, there is a lot of work that our teams do at the back end to ensure that we comply with all policies and provisions globally across the different markets that we operate in. Right? We work very, very closely with law enforcement and other government agencies to ensure that if there is any threat, external threat, we are able to work very closely and ensure that it does not affect sellers or buyers on the platform, right?
Okay.
And last one, like you spoke of payment security, I think global standards in terms of payment security are all in place. Even the partners, like I mentioned, Payoneer and all the partners that we work with, partners who are very, very compliant, have all the necessary processes and technologies to ensure that there is no fraud. So from that point of view, it's an extremely secure, and over the last 20-25 years, we've been fine-tuning, improving that, making it more safe. Because at the end of it, like I said, we only win if the seller wins, right? So we need to make sure that every seller, every buyer on the platform is protected to the extent possible.
If you ask eBay Sellers India's next few months focus and the pipeline, would you like to share some highlights on that?
Yeah, I think we've been in this business and in India for a significantly long period of time. While there are a very large number of categories where there are sellers, and our teams continuously still are working with a lot of these categories to bring sellers and supply. There are a few which are of extreme focus for us. When I say this means this aligns very well with our global strategy and therefore is a great opportunity for Indian businesses and exporters to kind of latch onto these specific categories and opportunities. One of which is automotive parts, largest category, one of the largest categories on eBay. Very, very strong buyer base, consistent, solid business for sellers. That's one category that we are looking to continuously scale. And the second, which is in one sense, from an India point of view, right to win category, we have all the products, is jewelry. Right. Mm-hmm. So these are two categories where we will continue to work very closely with all stakeholders in the Indian ecosystem to scale. But like I said, because of the fact that we are such a vast marketplace, there is opportunity for many categories and many sellers. But if you ask me very specifically from a category perspective over the next year or so, that would be our focus. But like I said, home decor, home furnishing, all of these are very, very large categories which sell from India, and they will continue to scale.
So your focus will be primarily 2 or 3 categories to make bigger and bigger because there's huge demand outside India. Yes. And there's a focus. Apart from that, a lot of other categories in any case are developing. Yes. And they're doing well. Okay. As you're moving towards last section, but just before that, you want to hear something personal about Pavan Ponnappa. So would you like to share one thing which social media doesn't know, your network doesn't know online, and then we can hear from here?
Okay, that's a difficult one. Hard to, in today's day and age, hard to have something that nobody knows about. But if you say purely from a social media presence, I would say one of the things that most people may not know is that I'm obviously a diehard sports fan. So that's one thing that I probably spend a lot of time with. And most recently, the World Cup was on, and so every match I would have my India jersey on while watching the match. Unfortunately, while I was wearing it, during the final, we didn't win, but it was obviously something that is close to my heart, which is sport. And very good to see, fantastic time in our lives where we are seeing Indian sport is growing very, very well. We're seeing a lot of success globally. So from that point of view, yeah, that's the one thing I would probably share.
Any other sports apart from cricket or only cricket?
So cricket is more from a watching perspective, but yeah, I would say hockey is a sport that is also something that I used to play a little bit of and I like a lot. So hockey, cricket, almost any sport, tennis. So there's a lot of sports, but yeah.
Okay, so one is national game and it is most popular game. So both of them are your favorite. Good. So we know how to catch you and what are the timing when some popular sports is happening.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's true.
So going towards the last section where
Yeah.
we, from our guests, try to extract some guidance and hacks. Would you try to give, something for our entrepreneur? Topmost, things which come to your mind as guiding principles for them, or even the hacks also. Guiding principles go longer way. Hacks goes for a shorter, quick things.
So I think I'll probably talk about a few things which I think help both short term, long term. But the first thing I would say, and it's probably irrespective of whether you're talking about e-commerce or not e-commerce as a market, but when it comes to e-commerce, if you don't do this, it's very, very hard to succeed, is to understand your market. It's critical that you know what demand exists and also understand the needs of the specific market. And this can vary, right? The brands of auto parts that are relevant in the US are different from what is popular in, say, UK or Germany, right? So it's extremely important for us to understand that market. And the same thing holds good for anything, including carpets and also season, right? When you look at the Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere, the seasons are different. So understanding your market and its specific nuances, I think are critical. That's the first thing I would say. Second is the focus on your customer. And in this case, for every seller that we're talking to, your buyer, right? It's very, very important that you gain trust and you kind of communicate very effectively with your buyer. And from an eBay perspective, that's important because we actually encourage a lot of communication between seller and buyer. And the last is scale. I would say that for all small entrepreneurs, big entrepreneurs, whatever it is, I think it's important to probably start small, but definitely think big, which means that when you're building your business, think about it in terms of how you will drive efficiency in your business. Because unless you build with that mindset, beyond a certain point, you will not be able to scale. So investing in the best possible talent that you have access to, investing in automation and tools, those are the things that will enable you to scale and really be profitable in this business. So build for scale is what I would say.
Build for scale. Wonderful. Key thing which is coming is give a lot of, know your customers, spend more time in understanding your customers a lot, the marketplace which you're working, know your market, and then focus on building this scale. So ultimate success in growing the business. Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much, Pavan, for coming on MSME Talk.
Thank you, Tripti, for all your time. I'm hoping that, like you said, let's eBay, and I hope a lot of the MSMEs, really take to the platform, but also more importantly, get their products out there in the world. I think Indian products have fantastic opportunity to succeed globally.
Absolutely, and eBay is there to support them. So let's export, let's eBay.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Tripti. Take care.
Take care. Thank you so much. Hey, if you like the information shared on the podcast, why don't you give some good reviews to us on Apple or Spotify? Through this episode, I hope you would have got some answers to your queries and guidance for way forward. Do share your learnings from the episode, your feedbacks and suggestions. If you are an entrepreneur and have questions from experts or any particular topic or profile of expert you want to hear, or if you are an industry expert with MSME as a target audience, do reach out to us. Our link is given in description. And at last, please do subscribe for MSME Talk podcast and don't forget to share the podcast link with your friends, family and network. Take care. Goodbye. this year, MSME Talk podcast enters peak ranking chart of 10th country in the Apple Podcast country level entrepreneurship category. If you are an expert or provide product or services to small businesses, MSMEs and startups, reach out to us to discuss showcase opportunity in MSME Talk. Contact details given in description.